Hello everybody, thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. I have, from time to time, people will send me a message and they'll ask me to show off my collection. And I always say, yeah, sure, I'll do that. It's to me, it seems easier said than done. So many books, take so much time to go through them. I have already done, a long time ago, a tour of my Robert McCammon collection. Since then, I've added a lot of Robert McCammon stuff. I'll have to redo that. But I figured, try again, start another section at least. And this time I want to talk about my Folio Society collection. It's a meager collection, about one shelf space full. I collect Folio Society books. I love them, but I only collect the Folio Society books for the books that I dig. And I usually try to reserve them to the ones that I also think look good. So there are some Folio Society books for books that I really like, but I didn't buy them because I thought they looked bad. And I actually did buy some that I thought looked bad anyway. But anyway, here's my Folio Society collection. I'll show you which ones I ended up getting so far. Here is my limited Folio Society collection in all of its splendid glory. Like I said, I collect Folio Society editions of books that I really like when the Folio Society editions look good to me. In some cases, I've bought some folios that I didn't think looked so great. But anyway, I don't collect all Folio Society books. I just want the ones of the books that I really, really like. So the first one I want to show you is The Hound of the Baskervilles. And for The Hound of the Baskervilles, I bought this one at a bookstore in Jacksonville, Florida, downtown. I forgot even the name of it. Yep, town something. It was a bookstore in downtown Jacksonville. But one of the things I love about the Folio Society is their books are slip-cased. They come in these cases, the book slides in. I like that kind of stuff. To me, slip-cased is better. But here is The Hound of the Baskervilles. And one thing about this book, it seems like at one point Folio did this, the spine titling is backwards compared to what we usually do. So I had this book in there upside down so that the spine labeling would be the same direction as the rest of them on my shelf. But here is the cover. And like I say, it's maybe it's a European thing, but they've changed it now. What they do is different. They have the spine labeling facing the same way. And this being probably my favorite Sir Arthur Conan Doyle book, my favorite Sherlock Holmes book, The Hound of the Baskervilles. This one is 1987, the Folio Society London. One of the things that I like about the Folio Society not only is the way they put the illustrations on the boards, the way they come with slip cases, the way they have the Smith's own bindings, but I also like the fact that Folio Society books are illustrated. Sometimes they're illustrated very well, sometimes they're not illustrated so well. So I'm going to flip through here and just see a few of the illustrations from The Hound of the Baskervilles. I'm not going to show them all to you. And I'll show you what the text looks like, the margins and such as that. The paper's slightly creamy in color. But these illustrations are kind of neat. They are lino cuts, whatever that means, by Edward Baldwin. But they look neat. They're good. I wouldn't want every book that I own to be illustrated like this. But hey, you stick some of these in there on me, and I'm cool. I dig it. So this is a neat edition. Folio has gotten a little bit more artsy at times, it seems like anyway, with their newest books, focusing more on the art, the flash, the pizzazz. But anyway, I'm glad to have this. It's the only edition of this book that I own, besides a reader copy, which I don't even have anymore, I don't think. It was a ratty paperback book. But this is the only edition that I have right now. The next one I want to show you is The Big Sleep. Raymond Chandler's The Big Sleep is one of my favorite books. I've got a lot of favorite books. And it's another book that I read because I love the movie. Humphrey Bogart's The Big Sleep. The Big Sleep starring Humphrey Bogart is my favorite Bogart film. I also love The Maltese Falcon. They're so close, but I love The Big Sleep. And I wanted a nice edition of this book. And this is the only one I have besides the Easton Press edition. I'll show you that at some point. But this book was sold, as you can see on the spine artwork, it was a set of Raymond Chandler books that all added to make a larger picture. Well, I don't have the other ones. I just have this one. So I'll show you what this one looks like. Take the slipcase off. The cover artwork, and again, typical Folio Society stuff on how it's made. And we'll look at our illustrated by Jeff Grandfield. And there is our frontispiece. I'll show you some of the illustrations in here as well. Not all of them, but we'll look at a few so you can get a good idea of the artwork, which I really like in this book. I really like the artwork in this book. I'm glad that they did it so well. I do wish I could get a standalone type version of The Big Sleep, one that doesn't fit within a set. Oop, cover your eyes, darling. One that doesn't fit within a set. Even books that are part of a series or a set. I like the books to be standalone on the shelf, not adding up to be a larger picture, but I know there's a demand for that. And they do look kind of neat on the shelf, but you know, I'd like to get a standalone version someday. I'd love to see somebody make a limited edition version of this book. One more piece of artwork, and then we'll move on to the next one. The next one I want to show you is The Postman Always Rings Twice. The Postman Always Rings Twice by James M. Cain is actually a book that I've not even read. I told you that I only collect Folio Society books of books that I really like. Well, I saw this at a store and I bought it and I had to buy it. I decided I would keep it. It was cheap. Decided I'd keep it because it's supposed to be a good book. One of these days I'll get to it and read it. In the meantime, it's one of the books in my collection that I have not read. The Postman Always Rings Twice. Let me show you some of the artwork included therein. The illustrations are Patrick Leger, L-E-G-E-R. This one is London, the Folio Society, 2012. And if the frontispiece is any indication, I love Patrick Leger's artwork for this book. So I'll flip through here and show you just a few of the pictures therein. But whoops, I passed one. I like it. You can see already, just a few books in, the variations in the Folio Society's artwork. It's not all the same artist, not all the same type of art styles. So great. That's one of the things that I dig about the Folio Society is the artwork. Artwork adds a little something extra to the book. The artwork here is good. So, has anybody read The Postman Always Rings Twice? Do you think I should bother? What do you think? Some of my favorite authors are big fans of James M. Cain, so I have a hard time walking away from this one. The next one I want to show you is one of two Folio Society editions that I have of 1984. As soon as I found out that the Folio Society had some editions of 1984 by George Orwell, I had to jump in, and they actually have a couple that I ended up with. Why do you need two copies of the same book? I don't know. Why do you ask? But they're very, very different versions, at least by looks, by artwork, by style and design, materials and all that stuff of 1984. So I went ahead and bought them. This one comes as a set that matches a variety of other titles from other authors, I think. Maybe they're Orwell books, but there's a bunch of them that come in this style, and you can buy them, I think, all in one box. But I didn't do that. I don't have that. I just have this one. I would like to get a nice version of Animal Farm. I like that book. But the artwork here, the illustrations are by Stephen Devine. They're fabulous. This one is 2001. And just take a look at the Stephen Devine artwork here. The cover, the boards, the artwork on the boards is great too. I like this one. The spine is a little bit busy. The gold foil stamping for the title and author and stuff, it kind of hides in there, but it does look good. I really like the artwork for this one. It feels right. It feels fitting. If you've watched any of the movie versions of 1984, this artwork, it's kind of indicative of the films. It looks kind of like that. But I'll show you some of it here. Uh-oh. Cover your eyes, darling. 1984 was a great book. I I don't want to spoil anything, but I would like a book that leaves me feeling hopeful. One that gives me some hope. 1984 is definitely not that book, but I don't think that was Orwell's intent. And now I'd like to show you the second Folio Society edition of 1984 that I have. And here's my newer version of 1984 from the Folio Society. And there's our slipcase right on the front there. It's foil stamped. And the spine, this is a standalone version. So I kind of like it better on the shelf. Although I think I like the artwork better on the other one. But this one, they both got their benefits. And our artwork here, illustrated by Jonathan Burton. And here is our frontispiece. And let's take a look at some of the art in this version, or this variation of 1984 from the Folio Society. Good artwork still. I think I prefer the art in the other book, while I prefer the cover art and the boards and the graphic design for this one. But the artwork here is also very good. Much different style, a little more cartoony. Something like I might expect to see in a comic book. That type of artwork. So it works. It looks good. I'm not disappointed in the least. If this was the only edition that I had, I'd be happy with it. But I got both. So the best of both worlds. And the artwork here also helps to tell the story. Another great edition from the Folio Society. I've passed quite a few illustrations. You can see this book is just chock full of artwork. And that's common with the Folio Society books. A lot of artwork. All right, now let's take a look at Journey to the Center of the Earth. So with Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, it kind of gets some of the same issues that I had with the first version of 1984 from Orwell. But the spine is so busy. It's so busy, it makes it kind of even hard to read what it says. But it looks good. And there's our boards, the shiny, so shiny. And there she is, Jules Verne. Now, let's take a look in here. The artwork here, illustrated by Graham Baker. And what do you think about that? You got to kind of pause and look deep because it's a little subtle, if you will, on the art on that page anyway. There's quite a few illustrations in here. I want to catch a couple and show you what they did for this edition. I've always wished that we had more quality editions of Jules Verne's work. I'd love to see some sort of limited editions out there of Jules Verne. One of the greats, one of the early greats. And lots of illustrations. Just chock full of artwork like you would expect from the Folio Society. Again, I'm not showing all the artwork for any of these books. I'm just flipping through and showing a few. In high school, like many kids did, I read The Lord of the Flies, and I was excited to be able to get a Folio Society edition of that book. And The Lord of the Flies, I was glad to be able to get this one. I think I bought this one on eBay, secondary market, and I had to shop for a while to find one that wasn't overpriced. Sometimes the secondary market does you well. Sometimes the secondary market tries to pull your pants down when it comes to price. But I wanted this one. This is the nicest version of the Lord of the Flies that I own. I love the boards. I love the spine, the artwork here, the colors. It's good. I don't have... The only other copies of Lord of the Flies that I have are paperbacks. It gets another one. I'd love to get a nice limited edition version. This one is illustrated by Sam Weber. And nice iconic imagery. I got the conch. Iconic imagery there. Let's see what else he gave us for this book. Good old Sam. They're maintaining our fire here. Take a look. You can pause it to see the illustrations a little better. Some of these pictures I just flip past as I'm scrolling through because they don't pop out and catch the eye right away. But I'm trying to catch a few for you. Show you how they go. On some of them I can see them on the page edges because they're a little bit darker than the others. And this, what an iconic story. It's part adventure, part horror, part of a cautionary tale. But it all adds up to being what I consider to be a very good book. I haven't read it again since high school. I need to. I bought a copy for $1 or $1 or something somewhere in a used bookstore. There goes the conch. At some point, with the intents of reading it again, and I will. Just haven't gotten to it. So much to read, so little time. Back in about year 2000, Y2K, somebody out of the blue recommended Jeffrey Household's Rogue Mail to me. I read it and I liked it a lot. So here is my Folio Society edition of Rogue Mail. Jeffrey Household's Rogue Mail was one that I just had to have. I read this book long time ago and I really liked it. I liked the book for a variety of reasons, but I also wanted to have the nicest version of this book that I could find. The Folio Society has provided that, the nicest version that I've been able to find thus far. Perhaps the nicest version that's available. This one is illustrated by David Rooney. And there is our artwork. I think very fitting for the story in this book. I like it when the publishers are able to successfully match the artwork with the tone of the story. Not just giving you pictures that tell a story or pictures that look good, but pictures that kind of fit. The style that fits. And this feels just right. When I read this book, look at these illustrations, I think they're perfect for the story. And a great story. In a nutshell, this guy's out hunting. He has Adolf Hitler in the sight of his rifle. And then soldiers come up and capture him, trying to kill Adolf Hitler. He's telling himself and telling us all that he was just out hunting and he randomly saw the thing going on and looked through his scope. He wasn't intending to kill Hitler. He wasn't there to kill Hitler. But he ends up escaping. He goes on the run. And I think he learns a little bit about himself throughout the story, through the adventure. So when I read it, it was an adventure story, but there's more to it than that. Now I'd like to show you the Robert Louis Stevenson collection called The Body Snatcher and Other Stories. The only reason that I bought this book, the only reason I wanted this book, is because I love the movie The Body Snatcher, starring Boris Karloff. I love Boris Karloff. I love that movie. And that movie was based on a short story by Robert Louis Stevenson. As far as I know, the only place that story shows up in a collection that is kind of cool is with the Folio Society. And I'll take and show you a little bit about this collection. It looks great on the shelf. Man, the black and the gold hot foil stamping looks so good. The front cover artwork looks great as well. This book is illustrated by Michael Foreman. And we'll take a look at some of this artwork as well as the table of contents. Here is the table of contents. Here are the stories that are included in this edition here. So let me find some of these illustrations, these illustrious illustrations, and show you what they look like. I love this book. The illustrations in here are so nice, so beautiful. I don't know how well they fit the stories. I've yet to read I've read about maybe half, slightly less than half of the stories in this book so far. I'm a fan of Robert Louis Stevenson. I just am not always a big reader of short stories. I find with short stories, I start and stop. I tend to read more novels where it takes a little bit of time to get into the story, but once you get going, you keep going for a while. Anyway, I'll show you a few more of the illustrations in here, then we'll move on. I do like the artwork in this book. Here is one of my favorite Folio Societies, 2001, A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. And this was one that I chased for a little while, trying to find it at the right price. And then the Folio Society re-released it. But here's what I got. Here's my copy. And this may be my favorite Folio Society book. Crazy, bright, shiny, reflective slipcase there. I love the spine, the design, the illustrations on the cover board look so good. And then there's the back of it. But this, look at our end papers. Silvery, metallic, semi-metallic end papers. This one is illustrated by Joe Wilson. And they did re-release this. I think the new version and maybe have some slight variations. I don't know. Actually, you know what? This might have been the re-release. I can't remember if this was the new one or the old one. Go figure. But either way, I have it on the shelf, and I'll show you some of the cool illustrations in here. This one's got some good artwork. I dig it. They did such a great job. And Amaranthin has now published a fine press limited edition version of this book. And I didn't buy it. The price was steep, and I so far haven't talked myself into going that deep on the price for it, especially when the Folio Society version is so great. I think it'd be hard to beat this one. I mean, you get better materials, things like that, a different type altogether from a fine press that you might get from the Folio Society. But I don't think I think I like the artwork better in here. I think this book looks better on the shelf. So I haven't been able to talk myself into buying that one. I still may, but not right now. Not right now. I bought a couple of books from them, and I'm happy with Amaranthin. But I think of all the books that have been published that Folio Society did a great job of, I still think Folio might have my favorite version of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Here's another one of my favorite Folio Society editions. That is I Am Legend. I'm a fan and collector of Richard Matheson. I Am Legend is one of his best, probably his most well-known. And you can see here, this book's a little bit thinner than most, normal height. And you got a die-cut slipcase. The spine looks great. And I've got quite a few versions of I Am Legend. And I've got the Suntup Editions version, numbered edition of this book, as well as Suntup Editions Artist Edition. I think those are the best. But Folio did such a great job with this one that I had to have it in my collection too. And it's there to stay. I'm glad to have it. It's one of the better Folio editions out there. It is illustrated by Dave McKean. And this one was one I bought on eBay, secondary markets. You know, sometimes you don't get there in time to buy them directly from the publisher or things like that. And at the same time, sometimes you can get better deals on the secondary market. But for one reason or another, I ended up buying this one on eBay. I shopped for a little while until I could finally get one at a price that I could live with. And it's got a lot of artwork in it. A lot. I'm not going to show you all of them, but it's plenty illustrated. Plenty. As I'm looking for one picture, I pass another. Just so many illustrations. A great book that has spawned some really good movies. At least two of them I love. One of them is tolerable, and I'll let you decide which ones you think I might be talking about. But none of them really meet or match the book. Well, like you often say, there's some movies that exceed books, some movies that equal books, but for the most part, the book beats the movie, typically. And I can give you some examples that go in each one of those situations. But I love the Vincent Price movie. I love the Charlton Heston movie. They both have such a lot of big differences from the book here. But I Am Legend's a great one. If you haven't read Matheson, then I recommend you go get I Am Legend and read this book. It's a good one. The very first Folio Society book that I ever bought was Jurassic Park. It's the first Folio Society book that I ever bought. I bought it directly from the Folio Society. I love the book Jurassic Park. And there were no really nice limited edition versions of the book. I don't even have the first edition, first print version. But the Folio Society had one. And I bought it. And I don't love what they did with this one. I would say this is one of the more disappointing publications from them. It looks very much like a kid's book that you might find at the doctor's office from the 80s. I don't know. It's not awful. It just doesn't feel like it fits the story. It feels like like a children's book. I would like to have seen a more adult styling, at least on the covers. Now, the interior illustrations on here are actually pretty good. Sort of comic booky, but not bad. Feels more like a graphic novel when I look at the interior illustrations. I just don't like the cover artwork for this one or The Lost World. But here are some of the illustrations in here. I think I neglected to tell you who the artiste is, so let's find out. This one is illustrated by Victor That Fox. Vector That Fox. Vector That Fox. Since I already had Jurassic Park, I figured I might as well get The Lost World. And here's what it looks like. Here it is, The Lost World. I do think this one is slightly better than Jurassic Park, but it still feels the same. Like I'm getting into a children's book here. Like I said, I think it's a little bit better than Jurassic Park. I wish the Folio Society would take another crack at it, actually. I think they could do a phenomenal job just by changing the... And this one is also Vector That Fox. By changing the theme, the artistic theme, the graphic design of these two books, I think they could make it great. There's so much to work with both of these stories. But Vector That Fox, here's some of that illustration. Fox. And this one's got more. It seems like it's got more illustrations than Jurassic Park did. Anyway, I had to get this one because I already had that one. I don't have any other nice versions of the Jurassic Park book, so here it is for me. I'm a big fan of John Wayne, and one of my favorite John Wayne movies is True Grit. So when it came to books, I had to get into this book as well. And True Grit looks so good on the shelf. It looks so nice. The Folio Society did this book right. Charles Portis would be proud of what the Folio Society did. And this is the nicest version of True Grit that's out there. There's no better. It's another one that I'd like to see somebody do a nice quality limited edition. It is illustrated by Juan Esteban Rodriguez. And the frontispiece has no artwork, which this might be the first one that I've shown you like that so far. But let's flip through here and see some of these illustrations. And I dig it. I dig them. They did a great job. Juan did a great job with this book. Rooster Cogburn is well represented. I do like the artwork here. Man, it's nice. It helps to tell the story. And when artwork helps to tell the story, helps you to feel the story, man, I'm in. That's what I'm looking for there. And this artwork really comes through. There's a couple versions of the movie. I started as a John Wayne fan. It was the first one that I'd watched. I watched it many, many times over the years. I love that movie. But when the Coen brothers made another one with Jeff Bridges as Rooster Cogburn, I went with an open mind. And I love that movie as well. In many ways, it is better. Jeff Bridges did great. The Coen brothers did great. I still dig John Wayne better. But I think perhaps the Coen brothers did better in most other aspects of the movie. I do love the 1968 film starring Charlton Heston called Planet of the Apes. And Pierre Boulier's book, Planet of the Apes, is much different, but it's fabulous. And here is the Folio Society edition of Planet of the Apes. And this is I love this movie. I read the book recently. The Folio Society did a great job with Planet of the Apes. I love the artwork on the boards. The spine looks good. It looks good sitting on the shelf. The illustrations, in the interior illustrations, there's some good ones and some that I don't love. David de los Harris illustrated this one. Let's see if I can catch, I think, the first one in here. And here, cover your eyes, darling. This one is neat. It shows them looking like gangsters. But I'll show you a few of these. The orangutans are in the book are pompous a-holes. Nobody likes them. Nobody likes them. I don't even think they like themselves, them orangutans. But there's some of that artwork from Planet of the Apes. Folio Society did a great job with this one. It's one of my favorite folios. I was really excited to get this box set from the Folio Society. The Roald Dahl set, the very first one, with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Twits, and James and the Giant Peach. I was really excited when this one was coming out. I was chomping at the bit to buy it. I couldn't wait to get my grubby mitts on it. And I bought this set, really, honestly, exclusively for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's got the Quentin Blake illustrations. That cloth feels really nice. And the Folio Society did a great job with all of these. They did a great job with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I'm glad to have it. Honestly, if it was sold by itself in a slipcase, I'd have bought it like that. I'd have probably just been going for it like that. I'll show you one or two of the Quentin Blake illustrations. And then we'll show you some of the other books in this set. The Twits and James and the Giant Peach. But here is the Twits. I really like the way they did this with those cloth boards. They look like children's books. They look like high quality children's books, which they should be, because that's what they are. Roald Dahl has made a lot of people happy. This one also illustrated by Quentin Blake. I think that was one of the big, great decisions that the Folio Society made when choosing the artwork for this book. I was trying to make it feel as original as possible. And there's James and the Giant Peach. A lot of orange there. And also the Quentin Blake illustrations. I'll show you a few. Just full of illustrations. They're practically every page, not quite. But as you flip through here, there's illustrations throughout, just full of them. Now I think they have two other Roald Dahl sets now at this point. This was the only one I bought. Like I said, I mostly went after this one for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Bram Stoker's Dracula is an excellent Folio Society edition. Here's what it looks like. The next four all were part of one order that I made from Folio Society. And I'm going to right here. I don't have any great versions of Dracula proper, the actual story by Bram Stoker, other than this one. I do have an expanded edition from Centipede Press, but this is Dracula, and it's the only nice version of this book itself that I have. And I'm kind of lukewarm on it. It looks great on the shelf. I love the boards. I love the spine artwork. The interior illustrations, I don't know. I don't know how to feel. It is illustrated by Angela Barrett. Some of them I can kind of dig. So, I don't know. Well, I'll show you a few and let you decide. Maybe I'll change my mind as we go through. But some of them really look good. So to me, I see that and I think, wow, that's cool. That's a different approach. I love the way that it's like a portrait with a border and a frame, a nice frame around it. That style looks really good. Some of the pictures are nice. Some of them, there's and I'm starting to wonder what I was thinking. Am I mistaking this for something else? But as I look through here right now, I'm digging this artwork. I'm digging it, man. I might be a lot happier with this book than I was a minute ago. I don't know if it's the mind playing tricks or if there were just an illustration or two that turned me off. But I'll show you a few more, and I'm starting to think different thoughts about this book. So far, I've liked every one of these, really, that I've pulled through right here. So I don't know what's going on. But let me change my tune. Great artwork in this book. How's that? I'm a man that can admit when he's wrong. And this is great stuff here. Anyway, this version is a lot better than I remembered it being. Glad to have it in the collection. I bought it, so I wanted it, but I'm glad to have it. I had a limited edition Folio Society of The Haunting of Hill House, and when I bought the standard edition, I realized that I liked it better. So what did I do? I sold the limited edition and just kept the standard edition. Here it is. If I still had the limited edition book, I would show you the differences, but I sold that one once I got this one and realized that I liked it more. I loved the colors. First of all, they're limited editions. When you put them on the shelf, it's blank here. You don't see anything. You have to turn it like this to see the doors on it. So this one sits on the shelf looking fabulous. But then when I actually take the book out, there's our slipcase. When I actually take the book out, this one looks much better. On the cover, it looks better. It's much less plain. It looks more fancy, more elaborate. And I love the artwork on the boards of this book. The artwork here, this one is illustrated by Angie Hoffmeister, The Haunting of Hill House. And my first exposure to this book was with the movie The Haunting. And I liked that one. It's probably the best, well, it's no doubt about it, the best movie version of this book. But looking at this edition of it here, I have another one. I have the Suntup Editions numbered edition version of this book, and it's also great. But Folio Society hit this one out of the park. And for the money, you can't beat it. I mean, the numbered edition for Suntup Editions is fabulous. It's also very expensive compared to this one. So, dollars for dollar, Folio Society did a great job with this one. And I'll show you another one. Let's find another one. Look at these color, large type illustrations. I love it. Great job. I think it's weird that the standard edition, to me, is nicer than the fancy, expensive limited edition, but sometimes just bees that way. Here is Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. And Cat's Cradle, this was one of the 4 in the last order that I bought from Folio Society. And this is a Vonnegut that I haven't read. I read Slaughterhouse 5. When this one was brand new, it came out, I was placing an order. I said, hey, give me one of them too. So I got it in the mailbox with the others. I still have yet to read it. Illustrated by John Ho Ko. And just a little bit of the artwork in this one. Man, you can see artwork all day. The Folio Society does it right. They give you your money's worth, I feel like. I feel like you get your money's worth out of a Folio Society book, typically. The only issue that the only complaint I ever have about it is that it costs so much daggone money to get them shipped from the United Kingdom to the United States. Otherwise, if I lived in the United Kingdom, I'd have a whole lot more Folio Society books. I love the Steven Spielberg movie called Jaws, but I also love Peter Benchley's book, Jaws. It's much different, but I love it. And here's the Folio Society edition of that one. I love the book Jaws. I had to get the Folio Society version. It looks great on the shelf, the spine. The slipcase is nice. Even the cover artwork on the boards is nice. It feels different. It doesn't feel like cloth. The materials feel great. Let me show you just a few of these illustrations in here. The artwork illustrated by Hak Young Kim. Hak Young Kim illustrated this one. It was released 2022. And again, it's got a bunch of pictures. I was glad to get this one on the shelf. Glad to add it to my collection. Let's see if I can find some good ones in here to show you real quick. The book is so much different than the movie in many, many ways. And this is one where a lot of people say the movie is perfect and the book is not that great. I strongly disagree. The movie is almost perfect, and the book is great. So very different indeed. But I read this book and I loved every minute of it. I loved it throughout. The characters are all different, and I think that's what hurts so much. The characters from the movie that you love in the book are far more flawed, far less likable, and with a little bit of understanding, they worked out for me. But I love the book. I'm one of the few that said that the book is every bit as good as the movie, although very different. The next few books were actually stored in different places. I put them here just for this video, but I'd like to show you The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, one of my favorite books. I've got many. This is one of them. I love The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. I also loved Legion, which is the book sequel to it. And I've got quite a few different variations of The Exorcist, but the Folio Society had one, and I had to go get one. I love the slipcase. I love that black on black. Man, it looks good. Well, let's take it out. I don't know. I kind of wondered about the choice for the color on the book itself, but it looks good. I can't complain. I just think I'd have done it black on the book. And it is illustrated by Jeremy Caniglia. And I've got a I think it was Lonely Road from Cemetery Dance, signed limited edition version of this book as well, with the same Caniglia artwork. I won't show you all of it. It is full of art, but I'll show you just a few so you can get a kind of a feel for that Caniglia artwork. And it is good. So the Folio Society did The Exorcist right. I'm glad to have it on the shelf. This book I actually don't keep on a shelf with the rest of the Folio Society books. It goes with my Blatty collection. I love Christmas. I love Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and I've got a couple Folio Society versions of that. Here is the first one. Two more. Both of these also don't go on the Folio Society shelf. But I love A Christmas Carol. I love Christmas. I love Charles Dickens. And these are the Folio versions. This one is bigger than the other. But there's our cover artwork. This is so colorful. The end papers, illustrated end papers, they look so nice. And the artwork here, Michael Foreman. And Michael Foreman did such a nice job on this one. They're glossy color pictures. The typeset, huge, large margins. It's a very short story, a short novel, I guess you might say. So they fit it in a big package. But then additionally, we'll get artwork throughout like this. So the Folio Society did great work on this one. Let's see if I can find any more of these big glossy illustrations before we move on. There's another. Really like this one. Glad to have it in the collection. This goes with a Christmas themed section with quite a few versions of A Christmas Carol that I have, two of which are Folio Society editions. And here's my last Folio Society book and another version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So the last book in my collection, this one was given to me by my wife for Christmas a couple of years ago. It's a more appropriately sized edition for the story. See how thin it is compared to the other. Same story. But this one, a nice black plain slipcase, but it looks good. And then the cover art, there's that foil stamp. And this is a lot like the Roald Dahl books, that rough cloth boards material. The end papers are not as fancy as the other one, green. This is a more economically priced variation of this book with Michael Foreman illustrations in it. And let's see what they look like. See which one you like better. I think the size of this one feels more appropriate. There's Marley's Ghost. And I love this story. Some people aren't so keen on it, but for me, this is childhood. This is growing up. This is the magic of Christmas for me. And so the classic illustrations really help to tell the story. And I'll see if I can find a few more worth showing off. They're all worth showing off, but they help. Is that dear old Fezziwig? Dear old Fezziwig, and there you can see the typeset. The size still, for those with the tired eyes, this is easy reading here. But just great. Glad to have this one in the collection. Thanks to my wife for that Christmas present. All right, so there you go. That was my Folio Society collection. It's meager, and there are some more that I want. Some old ones, some new ones. So it's not complete for my taste, but that's what I've got so far. When I get more, I'll show you. And that would be the end of my Folio Society collection. Thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it. C'est la vie, baby. Doo-doo.